Hi everyone, how are we doing? Good afternoon from Lagos, Nigeria. It's around 4 p.m. this afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the African Farmer Stories, where we chronicle, African entrepreneurs, the African farmers from across the continent of Africa, talk about the challenges they are facing, talk about the importance, and talk about how we can deal with these challenges. This campaign is actually made possible by great partners and sponsors like Business Day, like Full Clark Energy and Big Dutchman, and so many amazing people, making this possible. I would also like to thank the team behind this campaign, behind the Support for African SMEs campaign, Paminda Ver, who is in the UK, Felix Chima, Felix Ondachi, Victor Amador, Ileri Lawa, Billy Adeshola. All of us working in a decentralized manner. That's the beauty about technology. You can work with people and not even meet them. And these people have dedicated their time to helping us spotlight entrepreneurs and tell the stories behind SMEs as we deal with COVID. Over the last 2-3 weeks, we've been speaking with farmers from across the African continent. If you had followed this, if you haven't watched the previous episode, you should check our channel on YouTube, Support for Africa SMEs, or I think S for Africa SMEs on YouTube. You're able to find our previous videos. In the first episode, we spoke to two amazing farmers from Nigeria. One who had his farm in Bayelsa, the other who had a farm in Nasarawa State, I guess. Yes, and it was so amazing. I mean, they shared their experience with farming, their challenges, what they thought the government should be doing, and it was fun. And then we went all the way to Kenya last episode, which was really amazing because it touched on the importance of food to a nation's growth, to a nation's success. And today we are going to go all the way to Uganda to speak to an amazing farmer called Joel Cherop. So I'm trying to get him online. Just give me a second. Let's see if he comes on. Give us a second. Hi Joel, if you are online, please request to be part of the video. So waiting for him to come online. So yeah, as we all know, food is very important. And no matter your technological advancement, whether in medicine, whether in your industrialized sectors, whatever the case may be, if there is no food to power the people that would operate this, operate in these sectors, it will be terrible. Like, people will die, right? I mean, that's why in war, what's the first thing they try to cut off? Access to food, to feeding. And that's why the African farmers are very important. Joel, I see you, but I need you to request to be part of this video. Hi Joe, hi Mercy, hi everybody that's joining this video. Thank you for joining. Joel, I need you to request to be part of. So Joel is coming up in a bit. So as I was saying, food is so important. Even as we fight COVID, even as how would the health workers, battle COVID without food? Hi Joel, how you doing? I can't hear you. No, can't hear you. Still cannot hear you. Trying to see if it's from here. I can't hear you. Still nothing from your end. Hi everyone, if you can hear me or Joel, can you wave or say hi? If you can hear me, say hi. Joel, we might. Hi Funke, can you hear me or can you hear Joel? I need to know where the problem is coming from. Hi Tenny. Hi Blessing. So people can hear me, but Joel, no one can hear you. Are you using a headset? You probably might have to unplug. Still can't hear you. If you're using a mic, you might have to unplug it because I can't hear you from this end. You know what? Let's do this. Let's take you out of the call and see if you can get back. Whew, technology. You see how important technology is and how it also can mess us up when you need it the most. Yeah, so back to what I was saying, food is so important to the nation's development. And how else can we talk about the importance of food if we're not talking about the farmers, the people that actually get to do the work, the people that are the unsung heroes? I mean, most people, when we talk about farming, everybody goes, it's not just to go to the farm and harvest, but they forget that it takes specialization. It takes a lot of work to farm, bring produce from your farm and sell it. I remember earlier today I was talking with my wife and we're talking about post-harvest loss, how people farm and they can't sell. I still can't hear you, Joel. I still can't hear you. I still can't hear you. We can't hear you, Joel. So I think there might be something wrong with your side of the line. Still cannot hear you, Joel. If you're using a headset, maybe you might have to unplug the headset from the phone because we can see you clearly, but we can't hear you. Okay, I think I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, great. Finally, we get to speak.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
you know, technology has its own complications.
Yes. So we've lost a bit of time, so we'll just go straight to it. Joel, can you introduce yourself to everybody listening?
Now, thanks so much, UM, for this great opportunity of addressing a global audience.
Yeah.
By names, I am Joel Cherop,
Yeah.
a social entrepreneur and a farmer here in the Mount Elgon ranges of Sebei in eastern Uganda. And I'm so glad to be part of this global audience tonight.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. So tell us, what motivated you to become a farmer, to own a farm?
Now, the main reason that drove me in this profession after university, my community is a mountain community. We live in a very cold area. And most of my community members, because of the undulating nature of our terrain, the land holding is just an acre of land, an acre or maximum 2 acres of land. And their predominant activity was maize, which takes a whole year to mature. And because of many years of practice, the production was going down and down and down. The maximum they will harvest in 1 year was 8 bags of maize. And if you computed that in terms of dollars, it's less let me assume, it's less than $200 per annum a whole year. And yet most households in my community have 8 children. You know, Africa, we produce children. And because of no exposure and challenges along that line, the normal householding in Africa, a householding is 8 people. We have issues medical, we have food, and that leads me to reason in the angle of peasant-led agriculture. We're producing for food, not for commercial purposes. So after school, in 2007, I sought out to change that mentality and inspire my community into commercial level farming. I introduced horticulture, and my mainstay was onions. In my community, because we have the best weather, our soils are volcanic by the OM, very fertile. Best conditions for horticulture. And with horticulture, you only need an acre of land. For example, onions, you need an acre of land to produce 200, or I will say 20 tons of onions in one season, which is half of a year. So here is a community producing maize for 1 year, and now I'm reducing them producing onions in 3 months. They have harvested and they have another extra season.
Amazing.
And if you're producing 20 tons of onion, that means in our local terms, you're earning in excess of $5,000. That's just the season. So meaning if you do it very well, adhere to proper agronomic practices, you will harvest up to 40 tons in 1 year. Yeah, that's the reason I exist in my community, in my country, and now Africa.
Yeah, but that's interesting. And when you decided to go into farming, what was the reception like? What did your parents say? What did your friends and family say?
Well, it was interesting. You know, at university, I happened to have been in journalism class at Makerere University, the most famous university in Uganda. So when I got there, in my first year, I realized there was free internet. So I spent most of my time researching on possibilities in agriculture. And that's about the time, in 2000, I stumbled upon a book, End of Poverty, by Professor Jeffrey Sachs. And that time he was in the Earth Institute of Columbia University and was speaking so much about this UN goal, Millennium Goals. So when I read his book, and he had done a lot of research about possibilities in Africa and the potential in Africa, I got to understand his visionary ideas on the Indian Green Revolution and how it transformed India. I said, why not? I'm enlightened. I have read about the Green Revolution of India. I came back to my own region of Sebei. By the way, we exist on one of the most beautiful places that exist on planet, Mount Elgon. Beautiful terrain, beautiful elevation, and with volcanic soil. There are few places, Owen, that have volcanic soils on Earth planet. So when I came back, I introduced irrigation farming, which I read in the book End of Poverty, and I encourage my compatriots, and especially the young people on this continent, to acquire that small book. It's about 350 pages. It transformed my life. Because when I came back, I never owned land of my own, OM. Because in Africa, the land holding is according to where you originate your parents. And now in this mountainside of Sebei, we don't own a lot of land. We only have 2 acres of land for production. So when I spoke to my family, they allowed me to start off from half an acre of land. And because I went in for horticulture, you don't require a lot of land. And my message to the young people on the continent now, because over the many years of practice, I have inspired many young people that from just a small piece of land, just 230 square meters of land, can actually create wealth for you. I've gone on to evolve a model called 1 acre. Just an acre of land can make a young man a millionaire in Africa. And there's not been a point in Africa where that reality has been drawn close, like this COVID era. Because COVID came to Africa for a reason. In Africa, we're sleeping. In my own country, Uganda, we have more than 7 million hectares of land, fertile land, lying idle. For your information and for all those that are listening now, when Churchill visited Uganda for his first time, he first came here in the First World War, and then he came in a bit later in the 1940s. When he saw how Uganda looked, he christened Uganda the Pearl of Africa because he could not imagine, he had never seen anything like Uganda in his entire lifetime. Because we have the beautiful weather, we have the beautiful soil, and it's a nation of possibilities. Africa is a continent of possibilities. We have fertile soil. The only thing about us is our mindset, especially the young people who have abandoned villages into urban areas. Now they also have an opportunity because COVID, after all African nations locked down, if you're not involved in any productive sector, for example, agriculture, like I said, Uganda has 7 million hectares of arable land. But young men in Africa are sleeping. They have abandoned old people in the villages who are becoming less and less and less productive. There's an opportunity in the sector of agribusiness. And if young people don't get down there to work, because dignified work is what pays. That's what COVID has taught us. All people that are involved in deals, brokerages, for the first time, were pushed back by COVID because you cannot perform any deal now. There's no opportunity to perform a deal. You cannot tell the person about a real estate deal now because people don't have money. Most economies are wrapping up, most economies are collapsing. So if you don't work, and now Owen, there's the other very important thing that I want to share with my African continent. Very important. Young people must appreciate the fact that they must work. There are no deals if you don't sweat. Now the excitement that's gripping the entire continent, in the last, I'm not speaking about times ahead of COVID, because people are thinking that you just sit down, design a computer app, make $1 million in a matter of seconds. That is not going to arise anymore. If you don't work, COVID is just a lesson, and it's a trap because a lot of us, I'm a Christian myself, and I honestly believe that God lives. And God had worked us over a period of time. We became arrogant, we became complacent. People who don't work were making lots of money. Corruption. I cannot underestimate the big issue of corruption on the African continent. Lots of us are celebrating corrupt people who are probably making lots of money, driving the best cars, building some of the best real estate projects on the continent. Some
Joel,
of the best cars.
If I can stop you there, you've actually said so much, even covered some of the things I was going to ask you. And I'm actually grateful that you are really open to sharing, because this is something that we always preach. We need to start sharing our stories as as entrepreneurs, as business people, as leaders on the continent, so that people will understand, you know, what it takes to toe the lines that we are towing, and people will not make the mistakes that we made. So thank you for sharing so much. But you brought up a point where you said young people have to put in the work. But why do you think young people are running away from agriculture? There has to be a reason. People don't just decide to run away for running away sake.
Wow, that's a very beautiful question. You know, Africa is suffering effect of post-colonial management of our continent. When the European came into Africa from London, or we call it Britain, they wanted to dominate our mind. And the easiest way was to destroy our culture. Because in our culture, we had a way of life. And one of the most critical ways, Owen, was issues around food security. In my own local community, actual environmental degradation was not celebrated in rural Africa in the 1800s. They had species of trees that they preserved for posterity because of the advantages that that tree posed. Herbal medicine. 2, food was stored in the early 1800s because in the early 1800s there were noted crises like locusts, for example. In East Africa, we've had a challenge of locusts. A few minutes ago, I was watching Al Jazeera and they're telling us about locusts covering an area measuring 7 kilometers in India. Now, the current generation, because we're distorted by the European supreme ideas, we forgot about the previous challenges that we may have gone through. We destroyed old food storage systems, and now everybody's speaking about European storage systems, which are not affordable to the ordinary man. We had granaries, for example, in our African society that stored food for those periods when we had drought. Droughts are not a new thing now, Owen.
Yes.
We have had noted incidents of drought. Back in the day, our forefathers speak about drought, and they have named them. So what our forefathers did, they dried cabbage, for example, preserving it for the next in case there was any incident of crisis. They dried cabbage which will last a whole year or 2 years. Irish potato in my specific community was preserved for 2 years. Maize, which is our staple food, we eat posho. In south of the Sahara, South Africa, Zimbabwe, their staple food is posho. Maize was preserved for a long time. But now because we're introduced to this system of the colonial masters who wanted our culture to be destroyed, we lost those values because they are marketing storage systems that favor the industrialists. Actually, maize can be kept for 2 years, can be kept for 3 years. And that drives me to the next specific issue. As a farmer myself, I have ventured into more than 100 acres of maize. But now because of the current status quo, if we store maize, I cannot afford to put up warehouses, to put up silos, to store maize for a long time because I'm a desperate farmer. I'm speaking for thousands of farmers that exist in my country, Uganda, and probably the south of the Sahara, South Africa, they depend on maize. We cannot afford to invest lots of money in putting up cribs, for example, putting up silos, putting up warehouses, where we will harvest our maize from the farm, take them through the process of drying, which most times is electric. We have issues of climate change. And then through that whole value chain, as a farmer, I confess to you that I have 100 acres of maize, and I'm just at the mercy of the middleman who will come from the next country, Kenya, for example, he has his money, low price, by the way. I don't have any choice than sell because I don't have the capacity to store the maize.
Well, how can that problem be solved? This middleman problem, because you're not the first person bringing this up on this series that we've held. Everybody I've spoken to have complained about the issue of middlemen and how they are shortchanging farmers.
Yes. Now, Owen, there's a big problem on the African continent. Mm-hmm. First of all, COVID, like I told you earlier on, is an opportunity to get us down and thinking and drafting ideas how we can transform our continent into competitiveness. Now, in 2003, we had the Maputo Declaration, or we could call it the protocol, where African leaders agreed that if we had changed the state of agriculture in Africa, if we had to develop the rural part of Africa, we need to invest a minimum of 10% in budgetary allocation, national budgetary allocation to agriculture. First of all, in this year, 2020, we cannot run away from the fact that majority of the citizens are young men between the age of 14 and 35. And that's the most critical mass of our population that must be driven and must be inspired to get into the agribusiness sector. Now, this segment of population, first of all, if we are to take serious issue, have abandoned villages because villages don't have what excites them. Communities have the worst community access roads. Communities don't have radio access. Communities don't have electricity. So how shall we interest the segment of community to take on agriculture as a form of employment? And you know, these young people have been trained by the colonial era education to believe that life is comfortable. Life is comfortable for them. They want simple things. That's why when we speak about sports betting in Africa, they are the greatest number of customers. They waste away all hours, all days, sports betting for Man U versus Man City. Games that are played in Europe, where they will even never get an opportunity of going. So as Africa, we really need to get down to the drawing board and realign the mindset of the African.
Yeah, and I mean, this is what you've been saying from the very beginning: mindset, and it's actually very, very important. I absolutely believe that we can implement the core principles behind agriculture, even behind the Western technology, but we have to put in the work. We have to adapt it to the African continent. We have peculiar challenges in the continent. We have peculiar solutions, indigenous solutions from people like you that we can implement. We can't just keep on throwing away what our forefathers taught us or what we have learned about our continent and keep on implementing what we see in the Western world, because it is not working. And the truth is, if you keep on implementing what is not working, you're just behaving like a crazy person. So somebody brought up the conversation around commodity exchanges, be it online or be it offline. How do you think that can solve the problem of, you know, the middleman?
Well, you know, Owen, in the past, before I grew up through the period of 1986, I was born in 1980 myself, we had a vibrant cooperative movement in my own country, Uganda. And from stories, from literature, it seems to appear like the cooperative movement was solving farmers' problem. Because a farmer produced and he was sure to get a ready market from the cooperative society. They call them societies. And societies were placed across sub-counties. So when you produce coffee, by the UN, my region produces some of the best Arabica. You know, when you speak about Arabica coffee in my country, and when you speak about my region, when you go to Google, just do CP Falls. CP Falls is an icon on this planet. And when you speak about long distance runners, the current champions that are controlling it on Earth planet, they come from Sebei, where I live, Mount Elgon. Now, cooperatives really did a great job, because when a person harvested his coffee Arabica, he was sure that when he did the best job to make his coffee the cleanest, he accessed what they called quotas. They gave him an extra. And this movement had many things. They had extension service providers. They provided high quality chemicals to our farmers. Currently, we're having issues of adulterated agrochemicals. You're not sure when you buy from an agro supply shop whether you're buying genuine or you're buying fake. You know, that's a great challenge. And it's posing now in the 21st century when everybody's speaking about computer and information spreading across. So there are many challenges too. When you harvested your coffee then, I'm using an example of coffee because my region produces some of the best coffees that exist.
I love drinking coffee.
It's beautiful. And I invite you next, Owen. You know, we have a network enabled by the Tony Elmelo Foundation. And I have to speak so highly about it because it has given me an opportunity to share my ideas across the globe. So I have to speak about it. And it has strategies that can make Africa emerge as the next key player in world economic issues. So, Owen, I call and I seriously call upon the revival of cooperatives in my country, in other countries. You know, we are suffering injustices of post-colonial era decisions, do retrenchment, close businesses, and the results in the 21st century are not as exciting. So we have to go back because the colonial master, the first thing that he did is he wanted to control our mind. And once the mind is controlled, then we are destroyed as a people. So as Africa, because COVID has enabled, you can see the protests in the US. Things are not going to be the same again.
True.
So as Africa, if we don't have a cohesive voice discussing how we are going to make Africa happen, outside our normal politics of tribalism, of nepotism, we must think above this stupidity and make Africa happen. That's my submission, Owen.
All right. Joel, we'll have to round up, and I hope we can have you on this again because I really, really enjoyed speaking with you. And you've touched on so many things that we've been saying for years that we are passionate about. The mindset and how we as Africans have to wake up. Nobody's going to do the work for us. We are the only ones that can do the work because everybody is inherently selfish. You don't expect the US to solve our problem for us because the US is concerned about the US. We have to be concerned about
US.
Exactly. Absolutely. We have to be concerned about our problems and come up with solutions by us that will help us elevate ourselves out of poverty. So Joel, thank you for joining us. And like I said, I would love to have you again at that time. Have a great
I'm always available, Owen.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tony Elmelu. Thanks to AFSI Foundation. I've been having a program targeting skilling youth in my community because of the local NGO here. And it's been very successful. Thank you so much, Owen. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good luck. Bye. How many of you really enjoyed everything that Joel had to say? Our second speaker is online, but I'd like to first of all, and again, thank our partners, Business Day, Clark Energy, and Big Dutchman, and every other person that has made this possible. Also to the team behind the scene, Victoria, Felix, Billy, Parminda Ver, you guys are amazing. And I believe that it is people like us, you and I, and those that are listening and commenting, that would actually change the trajectory of Africa. Let me bring the next speaker online. So we are going from Uganda and we are landing back in Nigeria. Yeah, it's coming online now. It's coming online. Hello. Hi, Joseph. How you doing?
Very well. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So, Joseph, introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay. My name is Joseph Ali. I'm the CEO of Coal Farms. I'm also a TEP alumni.
Interesting.
Currently, yeah, I am. So currently, my location is in Kaduna State. So basically, in Coal Farms, what we do is we design a process we call collective agriculture. So it's a simple system that eradicates small farm holders. So because one of our biggest challenge as a country and one of our biggest challenge in food security is that word small farm holders. So that's basically what we do in Coal Farms.
Interesting. Just to add to what you say, so if you, for the listeners, you've noticed that the last speaker and this current speaker has talked about Tony Elumelu Foundation, and it just takes us down to the point where the private sector has a lot of work to do. We cannot keep on waiting for the government. The private sectors, you and I, all of us in business, can do way more. If we band together and get to work, we can actually lift the African continent out of poverty, out of hunger. So, Joseph, what even made you get interested in farming? Why farming? You could have been a banker. You could have been anything.
Yeah, just like you guessed, right? I used to be a banker before now. So after a while, we have to dump banking and pursue passion. So because at the time, I get to understand that work takes out a chunk time of our life. So if that is what work is all about, then we have to do something that we're passionate about, something that we're driven. So when I came into the agricultural system, that was about 7 years ago. All I keep hearing is small farm holders, small farm holders, small farm holders. So when we went to the field, we discovered that the small farm holders, or the so-called small farm holders, spend a lot of amounts in terms of input, spend a lot of money to produce any particular crop. And then at the end of the day, they end up getting the lowest yield. What I mean by that is that if I want to go into production of maize, for instance, and I'm doing a large scale, in terms of maybe I want to do 1,000 hectares or 2,000 hectares of maize, my production cost will be lower to about 83,000 naira per hectare. While the small farm holders is spending around 320,000 to produce the same size of farm. Then at the end of the day, my yield is about 7.3 metric ton. The small farm holder is struggling to do 1.8 metric ton. So that's to say that they spend higher and then they get the lowest yield. And outside the lowest yield itself, the quality of their yield is also nothing to write home about. So with that, we decided to sit down and see how we can design a new model that will help improve productivities in the farm, and then also secondly to eradicate most of those small farm holders. We don't want to hear that word. Preferably, I would have loved a situation whereby if you come to a community, you will meet some few people who said, okay, we are farmers. Some will say, okay, we are agro-entrepreneurs. That would be a suitable language for me. So in the first year when we started working in Kaduna State, what we've done is that we begin to collect farmers. We gather them into groups. So we go down to their communities, we see their lands. So instead of talking about one farmer doing a half hectare, 2 hectares, and what have you, we gather all their land and say, okay, if you have a land in so location, come and put down your name. So at the end of the day, we were able to see farmers, about 150 of them who put down their name and who own about 350 hectares. So what we decided to do as a test run now was to say, okay, out of these farmers, these 100 farmers who own about 300 hectares, let's just take 10% of these farmers will be the primary producers. Then the remaining family, what will they do? We now said, okay, we now start to talk about value addition. We said, okay, family number 1 should be able to provide tractor services for family number 2 and 3, who are the primary producers. Family number 4 should be able to provide fertilizer for the primary producers. So by the time we finished all of those things, we have families who are in charge of fertilizer they provide fertilizers. That's to say they bring in this input and get a little bit of commission. Now those ones who are working in respect to provide the primary farmer with all he needs to produce his crop have now shifted from the name being a farmer to an agripreneur. So that was what we were able to achieve at the first year. Now, currently now, what we are trying to do now is to see how farmers can have different streams of income instead of relying on just an annual production. Like, when you do maize, you do rice, you do all of those things, it's just a yearly income. So one is a situation whereby farmers can begin to invest into cash crop. Like a farmer who goes to the farm to produce maize or yam will also have a small plantation for palm fruit. We also have a small plantation for coffee. We also have a small plantation for another cash crop. At the end of the year, those cash crop he spends once to produce them, while the incomes becomes residual every year, because every year he has to harvest from his palm fruit. Every year he will harvest from his coffee stand. Every year he will also harvest from, let's say, for instance, if you do any economical trade, maybe the teak or other things. So that's basically what we are currently doing in Kaduna State. And over the years, we were also opportune to partner with GIZ and then USAID to deliver some of these services to our people here.
This is actually very interesting. Your model is very interesting. And you see, when I say that young people have the solutions that the African continent is looking for, you are an example of that. Becoming creative and creating that ecosystem that will help, that agricultural sector thrive. And kudos for what you have done. But let's talk about challenges. What has been the challenges you faced?
Wow, the challenges are massive. So what I mean by massive is that you have to start dealing with the stereotype thinking of the farmer, who believes that anybody that comes into the community are looking to exploit them. That's number one. In fact, one of the greatest challenges that we are facing. Number two, you also have to talk about selling the vision to them. Because some people, it's not as if they don't have the capacity to grow. They just feel they are comfortable where they are. They are not looking for much. So as long as their farm could provide the food that their family needs, they don't need to grow excess food. So you now have to talk about that. And then another part of it is also the part of assessing some of these facilities we need. As a young entrepreneur, you don't have all the luxuries, you don't have all the money to deliver 100% some of the solutions. So at the end of the day, you rely on partners, you rely on the government to come in to fix some roads or put in some facilities in place and what have you. Like we wrote to the state government, there is a particular 1,000 hectares. We wanted to start producing Irish potato on it. And we intended to do both raining and dry season. So we now have to meet the government to make sure that water board takes water down to the farm. So some of those things have become an issue in the sense that we don't have the capacity to do that. So we definitely have to rely on the government. So at the point where you need a partner or you need a third party to be part of your success story or to be part of the success procedure, we face a lot of challenge in doing that. So that's one of the issues we are having. And then another thing again is also to be able to coordinate the farmers to have a channel of sales, in the sense that since market in Nigeria is not restricted by anybody at all. Anybody can walk down to this country, meet any farmer you so wish, and buy whatever you want to buy. Like in our rural communities here, you'll be surprised that when you go to some communities, you'll see the Indians buying crops from the farmers directly. You understand? And each time they come like that, it is whatever they want to pay that they pay. The farmer doesn't control the price. They don't do anything. So getting a coordinated market and even getting the farmers to be interested in selling their product as a body has also been a challenge, because sometimes after we cultivate these crops, some farmers will come in the night, harvest their crop and sell, even without our information. At the end of the day, they sell at a very, very minimal price, but you can also blame them because they also have some pressing needs to take care of. So Having a coordinated market has always been the challenge, because my organization, we have worked seriously on the production aspect of it. So the market aspect has always been the problem. Sometimes a lot of partners checked out on you, maybe at the dying minute when crops are almost ripened for harvest. And then you started reaching, maybe when you contact them, you will not hear any response from them. So some of these small things. And then also the model. We're also trying to see how we can tighten it up a little bit to see how it can actually deliver real solution to our farmers.
Interesting. I mean, in terms of markets, I saw a comment from somebody saying, why don't you have a set, bring everything online? How do you think we can merge technology as it is now with the way everything is going online to the current way we are running our agricultural sector?
Yes, technology in agric has it's the solutions, that is technological solutions, has always been there. But the problem usually we face is how to tailor those solutions into our activities has been a challenge. Now, in respect to putting out our products online, we've been doing that for over 5 years now. In fact, most of our clients were gotten through the online platform. Now, you also have to talk about the volume that we do. Now, our volume in terms of production, anything that we want to sell out, we don't sell, sometimes we sell in thousands of tons. And then some of the markets we have are just talking about some few tons, of which, the moment you pick farmers a product and you sell, the remaining farmers, whether you pick their product or not, they also want to receive a lot at that particular instance. So that's why we are looking for a larger coordinated market. So when GIZ approached us to work with us on the ginger commodity last year, that was some of the solution they came with. So they supported the farmers, they supported the training of the farmers, because before we adopt any farmer, the farmer has to be trained in at least 5 commodities so that he will have a detailed knowledge of producing good and quality products. Now, most of our commodities in Nigeria are either affected by one form of death or disease or something. So that kind of training is the kind of training GIZ came in to support. And as of this 2020, GIZ support 26,000 farmers in Kaduna State in terms of providing training for them and what have you. And they also came with a more coordinated market. They brought in some foreign insurance company to insure the farmers' product. They also bring in, they also bring in marketing, and they're talking about making investments so that we should not sell our product in a direct form. In the sense that before we export anything from now, they want us to put a little bit of processing into it, like our ginger. They're talking about processing it to tea, drinks, and what have you. Then about the coffee. So they are actually one of our strongest partners, in the sense that at every particular point, they are coming to support. So currently, we are talking to them about some funding of about 10 million US dollars to set up a standard factory that will be able to process some of these things so that we don't rush to sell. So because if you pick a coffee bean now from the farm, you're selling a kg of coffee bean around 3,000 naira. But when that coffee has been processed to a takeout coffee, that 1 kg will generate close to 25,000 naira. So that's to say the farmer who is the primary producers of all of these items, his take home is nothing. So that's why we are now thinking about processing some of this, because if we can process them, then we can be able to expand or prolong the shelf life of any particular crop. One of the reasons why we rush to sell to any market we have is because, a fresh harvest from the farm, the shelf life is very, very short. So you don't want to keep it too much and then at the end of the day, lost everything you've worked hard for.
Yeah. Interestingly, I plan to bring the CEO of one of the coffee brands to the next episode of this docu-series. But you touched on something I was going to ask about, and that's insurance. Why is it that, I'm trying to phrase the question correctly. So, okay, talk about insurance generally, and why is it that a lot of farmers shy away from, getting insurance?
Okay, insurance generally is a very, very funny thing. It's very, very funny in the sense that we have 2 major bodies currently that does agro insurance. Now, when you talk about crop production, the most part of let's say all the policies they drop down for crop production, at the end of the day, it doesn't meet the need of the farmer. in the sense that if you go out for insurance now, they will be talking about insuring against droughts, insuring for erosion. Some of these things are things that the farmer can actually control on its own. You understand? And then at the end of the day, the insurance looks somehow not relevant to the farmer. Secondly, the NAEC, which is the Nigerian body for agro insurance, they are doing a good job. But anytime you have a problem in your farm, before you can collect your claims, sometimes it takes like eternity. You understand? Wow. But they have the capacity to give a good price. I think their price is 2.5%, their insurance charges, which is suitable and fantastic for us. But anytime you have a problem with your farm, collecting your claims can take eternity. Like there is a particular farm now that has been on ground. We had a challenge, I think 2017 or so.
Wow.
We could not collect that claim till date. Yes. Then another part of it again, if you not talk about the leadway insurance, the leadway insurance is also doing a good job, but the challenge with leadway now is that they're a little bit expensive. That's one. And then their area of coverage seems to be as if it's not important to the farmer, in the sense that what they claim to cover, the farmer can actually control it. You understand? Now, a farmer will want to insure against expected yield. Take, for instance, if you do a proper agronomy practices in a maize farm, you're expected to harvest between 5 to 7 metric ton per hectare. So if the farmer go into that kind of insurance, and then at the end of the day, the farmer harvested 2 metric ton, the insurance company is supposed to pay at least 3 metric ton claim for the farmer. Yeah. So, but they are not doing that. So over time, we've written to them, this is one of our key areas where we want this insurance company to come in. So they said they are working on a policy that will cover that, but till now, I think the last time I wrote to Leadway about that was about 2 years ago, and this is 2020. 2018 to 2020, nothing has been done about it. So insurance in Nigeria is somehow something for people just look at it as if, for me, from my background, I know insurance is very, very important in any agricultural activities. Yeah. Whatever you're doing, no matter how small, insurance is good. But when the insurance company are not coming up with policies that address the need of the farmer, then the farmer look at it as if it's not relevant to them. But actually, a lot of farmers are beginning to ask questions, especially our farmers. Each time we do training, we bring in insurance, we bring in marketing, we bring in small processing that they can do on some of their crop to attract more value. And then we also talk about hygiene in terms of production of crops, how they can achieve that with good hygiene. So they are now becoming more aware, and then the issue of insurance is becoming much more important, especially when you cannot predict what will happen. Like now, a lot of agro businesses lose a lot of money by this impact of this COVID-19. Yeah. You understand? Nobody prepared for that. So there was a particular year, that was 2017, I think. We produced melon, melon they generally call egusi. So we produced over 1,000 hectares of it, and we lost the whole farm to a particular insect that has never been there before. And by the time we went, the insurance company did not cover it, so we don't have any means of collecting anything. So the issue of insurance is not as if the farmers are not interested, but most of their policies, what they are assuring for the farmer, it's necessarily not relevant to them, and they can control some of those things. That's why they don't see the need. So, but another place we're also pondering about is.
Go on.
Sorry, I said another part of it I think farmers are welcoming these days now is the transport insurance. So a lot of farmers from this end now, they want to insure their crop. That's from the farm down to maybe Lagos or to their buyers. I think that has been where the farmers are really, really serious about in terms of insuring their produce.
Interesting. A big part of farming is getting people to be interested, right? And I see that that's one of the things you do, educating people on the how to farm, showing them that they can actually get profitable by investing in farming. However, one of the biggest problems for most large-scale farmers is getting off-takers, getting people. And what do you think big organizations, or there's a word for them, big food companies in Nigeria can do to help to support farmers, beverage companies and the likes?
So it's not in this country. Let me tell you clean and clear. There is none of this company out there who is willing to support the small farmers. Let me give you an instance for Flour Mill of Nigeria. Me, I will talk and call the company name so that you can check and understand what I'm trying to say. Now, I met with one of their top directors. That was last year in Lagos. And we were just talking. And I was asking him, how much did you offtake maize from farmers? And he was talking about 40,000 for a metric ton. I said, okay. Then I asked him one question. How much did you sell your seed? Because flour mills also provide seedlings for farmers. How much do you sell your seed? He said they sell a kg for 1,000 naira. How much do you sell your fertilizer? The fertilizer is going for 9,000 as of that time. Currently, that fertilizer is about 15,000 naira.
Wow.
You understand? So they who are the big people now, who have the capacity to make impact, they are not making impact. Because one of the reasons he gave me, and I told him, I said, okay, now, Oga, do your calculation. You sell a kg of seed to the farmer at 1,000, sell fertilizer at 9,000. Oh, how many bags of fertilizer is the farmer expected to put in the farm? About 15 bags. How many seed is going to put in 1 hectare? About 25 kg. Now he bought seed for 25,000, buy fertilizer for over 100 and something thousand, and then he now comes out with a yield of about 2 point something metric ton. And out of that 2 point something metric ton, you are now buying a ton from him at the rate of 40,000 naira. How did you want that farmer to break even? That's to say the farmer is investing 170,000 naira into buying your input, and then after producing, he's now selling it back to you at 80,000 naira. That's not a good business. So now, that is one of the issues that we have. Now, he made his own clear argument. He says that, well, I'm talking as if I'm a farmer's union. I say, no, I'm not a farmer's union. I'm an entrepreneur. But I like to be a fair person. I like to play a fair game. He was not telling me, he said, Joseph, I should also consider the fact that he also has to do a lot of things by himself. Like, he will create roads to his factories, create roads to his farm, power the factory, power his farms and everything, provide security because government cannot even provide security for that. So at the end of the day, he also has a high cost of production. That way, he cannot be fair because he's also trying to make profit out of business. Now, when you listen to that, you know that is a fair argument. Yeah. So at the end of the day, there is a role government has to play. You understand? The truth is that before we can achieve some certain level of success, the government have to be involved. In the sense that I can do as much as I can, but getting to a particular point, I cannot go further than that. Yeah. Now, if the government should come in and fix some infrastructure, put good roads, we have light. You see, a company like Flour Mills of Nigeria can now come down to their farmers and play a fair game. Because at the end of the day, the government activities will drastically reduce their production costs. So once their production cost is reduced, they can do a fair business. So they are also facing their own problems. We are also facing ours. Then the farmers, they are the ones who are at the receiving end. They buy input at high cost, sell their product at lower cost.
Okay. We'll have to round up. Time is running out. Can you close with 2 advice for either the government or farmers?
Well, for the farmers, I will simply tell them that pulling your resources together, you achieve more. So what we do here is that we don't have any small farm holders. You understand? If you achieve 1 hectare, your neighbor is doing 1 hectare, all of you people can come together and achieve 100 hectares. A tractor services for 100 hectares is 53% cheaper than a tractor services for 1 hectare.
You have to go faster.
Now, by doing that, you have drastically reduced the cost. Now, when the farmers come as a group and they go to assess a seed, now, if you are buying a kg of seed for 1,000 naira, if you come buying 2,000 kg, you will get it at 16 naira. That's to say you have reduced another 40% from your production cost. Now, if you pull up your resources together and you are selling your harvest as a team, you will attract a better market, be able to have a voice into your pricing than when one person is dealing with one off-taker.
Okay, Joseph, we've run out of time. I'm so sorry.
So,
but we'll see how we can get
thank you
back
so much
again, because
thank you.
You've actually spoken beautifully. Thank you for everybody that has joined this session. See you again next week, and have a lovely week. Bye.
Yeah, bye.